Voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah. It's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
John Combest, it must be Friday, otherwise we wouldn't have the Barbershop Boys, would we?
Hey, we celebrate TGIF just like we celebrate TGIM and SHI Thursday.
That's also SHI Tuesday as well, too. That is John Combest, Combest. I spell it because of the fact that you need to have the proper spelling when you type in johncombest.com on your computer, which will lead you to this incredible website, which is done actually in an old-timey kind of style. What version of web is that, John?
0.0.
And what he does is he puts all this important information. It's links, nothing fancy. No, there's nothing going to move around. No animes or animation or
animes. I don't do anime either, Brad.
No animes and no furries from the St. Charles Convention Center or anything like that. What he I'm sorry, John. What he does is he puts together this incredible top three, and especially on Fridays, we bring in the Polka Boys.
Time for the John Combest.
It is time for the John Combest top three. We bring in this gentleman right here. Your name, sir?
I'm Casey Kasem.
And you start off with?
In third place.
Now, Brad, hang on to your hat and your Mountain Dew, because I'm going to lead you down a logical path, and I want you to answer a semi-challenging question for me. St. Louis Public Radio headline: Missouri again leads nation in black homicide victimization rates. That's right, Brad. People like you are to blame for black homicide victimization. Brad, this study, and study is in giant air quotes, comes from a Washington, D.C. based group called the Violence Policy Center. Now, Brad, here's where I need your answer. If there is one policy that we must change to help the black homicide victimization rate, what do you think that one policy in Missouri would be?
John, let me clarify. When they say the black victimization, black homicide victimization rate, in other words, is this essentially saying that the blacks are on the receiving end of the homicide? Is that what they're saying?
You're exactly right, Brad. So the rate of black homicide victims versus that of privileged white people. Brad, what if you're a DC-based group that's focused on violence prevention, what do you think you want Missouri to pass in terms of a law?
Another, what do you call it? What's the law where it just came up in the news again the other day about the situation with Cincinnati? Help me with this. I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about?
Does it have to do with firearms?
No, it has to do with the fact that if you're a black person, if you're a white person that beats up a black person, not only will you get charged with
a hate crime.
Yes, hate crime legislation. Is that what this is about? Hate crime legislation?
That's a good guess, though, Brad. And hate crimes tend to always be in the news. The correct answer, though, Brad, and what we need for the black community is gun control. That's right. This group, the Policy Center, they are a gun control group. They're based in Washington, D.C., and they've issued a report for 20 years that shows the victimization of black folks. And the gentleman who leads this group, his name is Josh Sugarmann. That's an appropriate name, right, for a guy that's a little bit sweet. These states, including the ones, when I say these states, I mean the ones that have high black victimization rates, all of those states except Illinois have what are known as preemption laws, which limit gun regulation. And here's what Mr. Sugarmann says. Even if cities or communities across the state want to enact specific laws to protect their citizens from gun violence, they're not allowed to. Any action can only happen on the state level. So, of course, Brad, what Missouri should do is pass stricter gun control laws, and that would keep black people from killing each other. Now, I happen to agree with Mr. Sugarmann. All we need are some gun control laws in Missouri, and black people will stop killing each other, right?
Okay, hold on a minute. So you're saying that there should be stricter gun laws for black people buying guns? Is that what he's saying?
No, there's stricter laws in Missouri, period, Brad. And cities like St. Louis City should be able to restrict gun sales however they want, regardless of state law.
You know, this whole thing is, and the sad part of this is, ask anybody in police departments. A lot of these guns that were recovered in like inner city shootings, most of these guns are stolen guns. You know what I mean? They weren't bought. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and
I know exactly what you mean, Brad. They don't exactly, folks who are going to go commit a crime don't exactly go about things the right way, do they?
Well, you know, you do hear the nutbags, you know, like that, the situation where these guys, these serial killers or these people that show up at an event and shoot everybody and turns out.
And they're the exception.
Yeah, matter of fact, just this guy in New York City bought this gun, bought the gun parts and another gun at a gun shop in Las Vegas, went in, passed the background test, the whole bit. What does that mean? John, is this a real story?
Yeah, it is the top story on St. Louis Public Radio.
I don't understand.
What I love, though, Brad, now here's a great example. This story is brought to us by Rachel Lippman of St. Louis Public Radio. Nowhere in this story does it mention that the Violence Policy Center is a gun control group. So I had to go to their website to see that Violence Policy Center is a gun control group. Now, why wouldn't St. Louis Public Radio, and Rachel Lippman, I think, is a good reporter, why wouldn't she put a sentence in that says the Violence Policy Center was founded to lobby for stricter gun laws? Why not throw that sentence in there, Brad? That would seem fair, don't you think?
John, I'm surprised at that because I heard these promos on, you know, KWMU over the past couple of weeks since the NPR funding has been cut. They talk about they you know, their news department verifies every fact, and they keep talking about fact-based public service journalism.
That's all they do, Brad. In fact, I saw one of my favorite people. I forgot his name. But one of my favorite people did a video. And he was urging people to call the St. Louis Public Radio donation line.
Yeah, I got called a commie because of that.
I mean, I think the guy that called you a commie is right. I don't know when you turn into a communist, Brad. So now there's another good public radio story in story number 2, if you think we're ready to move on, Brad.
Well, last question on this. Essentially,
Yeah, sure.
what he's saying is that if you had stricter gun controls over the entire state of Missouri, there would be less black homicides?
Well, he means specifically in cities. So cities should be allowed to have their own gun control laws. Also, Brad, as you might expect, St. Louis Public Radio reached out to a Washington University sociology professor who pointed out that another reason for black-on-black violence is socioeconomic factors play a large role, and that's specifically concentrated poverty. Do you have a tiny little violin you could play, Brad?
John, let's just go on to number 2. You ready?
I'm ready.
Up a notch to number 2.
Oh, you're going to love this one, Brad. Post-Dispatch's Kurt Erickson headline. Lawsuit asks judge to block law aimed at keeping chiefs and royals in Missouri. Brad, you have to give us a little bit of insight. Was the Chiefs and Royals lawsuit in B block for Brad's top 3?
It is not.
Okay. Whew. I breathe a giant sigh of relief. Well, here's what you should know, Brad. A few folks decided that they're not happy with the Royals and Chiefs deal. They say that it's unconstitutional. The three folks filed a lawsuit. It was State Senator Mike Moon. You know, he's a Republican from down in the southwest part of the state, very conservative gentleman. A brand spanking new freshman state rep named Bryant Wolfen. He's from St. John County. And a guy named Ron Calzone. He is a longtime, gosh, I don't even know how you would describe Ron Calzone. Let's call him a lobbyist. I guess you could call him a lobbyist, an advocate. He's deeply ingrained in the Jeff City structure. And I guess that's the best way to pull it. He's a policy expert. Let's just say that. So they are suing Governor Mike Kehoe and AG Andrew Bailey. They give a list of things that they say are unconstitutional. But essentially what they're saying, Brad, is that the state legislature is bribing. Here's their language. The appropriations described in the bill are a direct gift or bribe to the owners of the Chiefs and Royals to stay in Missouri. And they suggest that the bill might also be a bribe, get ready, Brad, to the owners of the Cardinals if they want to renovate Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis. So to me, Brad, this seems to be one of those lawsuits that I'm not sure how far it's going to go, but it's certainly putting something on record and in the courts that says you can't just give taxpayer money to these stadium owners. I'm sure you have an opinion on this, Brad.
I agree 100%. That's what I say. I mean, I see the thing that more than the Chiefs and the Royals, and once again, I had this discussion with someone yesterday, and I said to them, hey, we keep Missouri, bring them to St. Louis. What do you mean bring them to St. Louis? It was like I said, the world is flat. What do you mean the world's flat? To me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, we got the dome,
The only fallacy in that now, Brad, is that part of your theory was that the mayor of St. Louis should get together with the county executive. And I don't know if the Royals want to be seen with Sam Page this week.
Yeah, he's looking.
I mean, they might want to wait till Brian Williams is county executive, and then maybe they might come over, Brad.
Yes.
You might want to put your idea on ice for a few months.
See, I say again, if women ran government, we wouldn't have these problems because
and 3 months out of the year or 3 days out of the month, I guess you could say we'd be bleeding money, right, Brad?
John,
we'd be bleeding money.
No, John. If women ran government, we wouldn't have. This is all male bravado crap. We gotta have the Chiefs in Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas City, Kansas. They're not. If they're in Kansas, they're not the Chiefs. There's something else. I don't get it. I never will. And
hey, Brad, I'm not a Chiefs guy, but I think if they want to move to Kansas, let them go to Kansas. If the Royals want to move to Kansas, let them move to Kansas. The problem with your idea, Brad, is that I know you're not a big fan of Walmart and Walmart driving out other companies. If women ran government, if you think there's a lot of Walmarts now, there would be a Sephora on every block.
Well, maybe that would be a good thing.
I mean, if you've gone into Walmart and you see what the women look like, they could probably use a little Sephora, don't you think, Brad?
John, I agree with you in that respect. If they want to move to Kansas, let them move to Kansas.
Yeah, let them go.
Right. Kansas has got essentially what, we talked about this before. Wasn't the bill passed in the Kansas legislature? Wasn't it that they gave a percentage? Wasn't they said we'll pay 80% of whatever?
Yeah, 80%. And I think the owners get daily massages. I think they get, Starbucks. I think Kansas is pretty much just wrapping up the world, mortgaging their future to get the Chiefs. And I think it's great. Let Kansas do it.
You know what, John? I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm to the point where
I actually agree with you on this.
I to the point where it's like, the crazy part of it is when I heard the 80%, the Chiefs can come along and say, okay, we're going to build a $100 billion stadium. I mean, it's going to cover 2 square miles. And there's, okay, you guys agreed to pay 80%. So I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Now, you'll also appreciate this quick, Brad. I know we got to get into the last one, but I like this. They give 5 reasons why the bill is unconstitutional. We won't go through all of them. But the lawsuit also points out that Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes makes $45 million a year. The lawsuit says, quote, "It thus appears what is really going on is that the Missouri legislature has passed a law under which, year by year, the taxpayers are paying 73% of Mahomes' salary." That's according to their math.
You know what?
So when you put it that way, Brad,
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a great deal for taxpayers. Now, our friends who are big economic development folks would say we got to keep them here, and there's a lot of jobs in Missouri. And I think that's actually true. A lot of folks work at the stadium. But, I think if Kansas wants to make a great deal for the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs should go there.
John, earlier this morning we replay older shows up until we go on the air live at 7 o'clock. And the show was on where the statistic was given where, remember, I quoted Mark Cox and you didn't
Yeah, you quoted him who was quoting somebody who was quoting somebody.
Right. He said that they did a research study and less than 1% of the gross domestic product in the Kansas City metro, and that's the entire metro, including the Kansas state part of it, 1% of the gross domestic product is directly attributable to less than 1% to the Chiefs and to the Royals. Okay, now, if that number were 10%, then I'd say the state would say, yeah, we got to keep them. But 1%, who cares? That's a rounding error. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying, Brad.
Okay, number one, right?
That's right.
The number one.
Brad, it's a convoluted topic, and I'm glad that I have Brad Hildebrand in my life who's helped explain it to me over the last 21 glorious months.
Here we go.
And also last night, Eric Schmitt on Kudlow on Fox Business helped describe it a little bit. It's the whole Russiagate, Trump, Hillary thing. Brad, I got to admit, I've never really understood the intricacies of how this happened. But briefly, I'll summarize what Eric Schmitt said on the Kudlow show. Apparently, FBI Director Kash Patel got information what's called from the Durham Annex and gave it to Senator Chuck Grassley. Grassley declassified the documents and put it out. So here's what Schmitt described on Kudlow's show. A group from George Soros called the Open Society Foundation had an executive director. Hillary Clinton worked with that executive director, signed off on the Russiagate hoax, essentially to say, look, I'm having all this problem with the email controversy. Let's create this narrative that Russia is trying to use Donald Trump as some sort of a ploy. So the idea, and Schmitt says the idea that Obama was involved in this whole thing and his administration was involved in this whole thing to advance a narrative that there was a Russian conspiracy along with Donald Trump to throw the election. And then Schmitt goes on to talk about how the Obama administration and the Biden administration were complicit in different warrants and different briefings. And Schmitt lays it out pretty clearly in here, Brad. Now, the whole thing is a little bit convoluted for me to understand. Maybe I'm just not that bright. But what I think Schmitt is saying here is that you had the Obama administration complicit with the Biden administration to advance a narrative that was clearly lying. And you're using government resources to campaign and discredit a candidate for president. Tell me more about this, Brad. Am I hearing that right? I know you know a lot about Russiagate.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, and there's so many aspects of it. Remember the infamous 51 signatures on the letter that stated that there was no that the Hunter's laptop was a Russian plant. I mean, the whole thing just. I know people are going to go like, "Oh, he sounds like he should be on Tracy's station now," but the thing is just filled with all this conspiracy stuff. I mean, there's no two ways about it now. And the crazy part of this is, here we go again. People are going to say, okay, why is this all coming out now? Well, because of the fact that I think everybody was pretty much assured the fact that either Joe Biden was going to get reelected or Kamala Harris was going to get elected, and she's not going to do anything about this. And all of a sudden, that doesn't happen. Trump gets in, and Trump says, his people start kicking over filing cabinets and finding all sorts of different things. And the whole crazy thing about it is the guy that just drives me nuts is Adam Schiff. because he's been on TV recently, and they've sort of quizzed him down about this, and he's just like, well, I never did anything to Donald Trump. He did it to himself. He was involved with the Russians.
Yeah.
and it's like okay, and the crazy part of this is I'm going to go way back, John. I don't know if you remember this or not, way back to, I believe the year was 2012. Matter of fact, I know the year was 2012. And there was a presidential debate between, at that time, President Barack Obama and Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney, I remember him.
And remember Mitt Romney, they said, who's the next who should we keep an eye on international, I don't know exactly how the question was phrased, and he said Russia. And do you remember Obama's comment to
Obama scoffed at him, right? Didn't he say it's not the 1980s anymore?
Yeah, he
Like
says the 1980s have called and they want their foreign policy back.
There you go. Mitt was right about something for once.
Right. But the idea was that here's the guy who scoffed at the Russians, and then, according to what's coming out lately, since the Russians were behind it. So you're either in or out with the Russians, don't you think?
You're either in or out, Brad.
You think the Russians are no factor or the Russians are a factor, right? One of the two, right? But
all I know is they should pull a Zelensky and go to Home Depot and get a bunch of drones. I heard that from the Brad and John show.
John, you keep bringing up Home Depot. You can't buy drones at Home Depot. They're not.
I don't know. Would they? Well, they might not let you buy drones at Home Depot. They let me buy them there, Brad.
So you buy them. Okay. Okay. John, I have a scintillating Brad's top 3. And guess when that's coming up?
Well, I bet it's next.
It is next. How did you guess that? Okay.